The US dollar, often called the world's reserve currency, is more than just the money you carry in your wallet or see in digital transactions. It is a critical instrument of global influence, shaping international trade, investment, and political power in ways that are both visible and subtle. Its significance stems from a combination of historical, economic, and geopolitical factors. The dollar became dominant after World War II, with the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944 establishing it as the primary currency for international exchange and linking it to gold, creating stability and trust in global markets. This position gave the United States unprecedented economic leverage, allowing it to borrow, spend, and influence the world economy with a flexibility that few other nations enjoy. Today, more than 60% of global foreign exchange reserves are held in US dollars, according to the International Monetary Fund, illustrating how central it remains to global finance. This dominance translates into tangible benefits for the United States. American businesses can borrow more cheaply, import goods at lower relative costs, and issue debt that attracts international investors, often even in times of domestic fiscal strain. Moreover, the dollar's centrality in global trade, used in commodities like oil, gold, and wheat, gives the U.S. significant indirect control over global markets. Economists often point out that when the dollar strengthens, it can make imports cheaper for Americans while simultaneously making U.S. exports more expensive abroad, demonstrating the double-edged nature of its influence. Beyond economics, the dollar is a strategic tool in international policy. Sanctions imposed by the U.S., often requiring that other nations transact in dollars, leverage this global reliance to exert pressure without direct military intervention. Countries under economic sanctions frequently find their financial systems constrained because access to dollar-denominated markets and banking channels is restricted. In this sense, the dollar functions as both a shield and a weapon. It protects American economic interests while projecting power worldwide. Critics argue that this dominance also creates vulnerabilities. Dependence on the dollar can expose the global economy to shocks originating in the U.S., as seen during financial crises when dollar liquidity dries up and international markets feel the strain. Some nations have actively sought alternatives to reduce their reliance on the dollar, including increasing trade in euros, yuan, or cryptocurrencies, yet none have yet matched the scale and stability of the U.S. currency. Another important aspect is the role of central banks and global financial institutions. The Federal Reserve, by setting interest rates and monetary policy, indirectly influences global liquidity, borrowing costs, and investment flows. This power means that decisions made in Washington can ripple through emerging economies thousands of miles away, impacting local inflation, trade balances, and growth prospects. Additionally, the dollar's digital evolution is reshaping its global footprint. The rise of electronic payments, international digital settlements, and even discussions of a potential digital dollar could strengthen its dominance while making international transactions faster and more transparent. Experts note that this transition may also give the U.S. more regulatory oversight of global financial flows, further enhancing its economic influence. For ordinary Americans, the dollar's global role is often invisible yet important. Strong demand for the dollar abroad can keep inflation lower domestically by supporting the currency's value, which affects purchasing power at home. Conversely, shifts in global confidence can influence the prices of imported goods, interest rates, and even job opportunities in export-driven industries. The symbolic power of the dollar should not be underestimated either. It represents economic stability, trust, and confidence in institutions, a perception built over decades of consistent policies, rule of law, and innovation. This reputation reinforces its dominance as both a medium of exchange and a store of value internationally. In the geopolitical arena, the dollar's influence intersects with diplomacy and defense. Access to U.S. financial systems, trade partnerships, and investment channels often hinges on alignment with American policy priorities. This creates a unique leverage point where economic incentives support broader foreign policy objectives without resorting to coercion. Yet this power carries responsibilities and potential pitfalls. Over-reliance on the dollar can leave the U.S. exposed to its own policy missteps, as well as creating tensions with allies and competitors who may seek to diversify away from the currency. Globalization has interconnected economies to a degree that means the dollar's influence is both a stabilizing force and a source of friction. Historians highlight that the dollar's status was not inevitable. It reflects decades of economic growth, military strength, financial innovation, and strategic diplomacy. Countries like Britain and France once issued currencies that competed for global dominance, but post-war shifts, including industrial capacity, political stability, and trust in institutions, positioned the U.S. to lead. Today, the ongoing debate about the dollar's future includes questions about emerging economies, cryptocurrency, digital finance, and shifting geopolitical alliances. Analysts widely agree that while alternatives may gain traction over time, the dollar's entrenched position and liquidity advantages make it likely to remain a key player for decades. Some argue that this dominance gives the U.S. an outsized advantage in global affairs, while others caution that it comes with systemic responsibilities to maintain financial stability, transparency, and confidence worldwide. For policymakers, investors, and everyday citizens alike, understanding the dollar's global role is critical to making informed decisions. Whether it is in evaluating investment strategies, navigating import-export decisions, or interpreting news about inflation and interest rates, the dollar's influence touches nearly every aspect of modern life. It's a reminder that currency is not just money, it's a reflection of power, trust, and strategic foresight. And that's something worth remembering when you next consider how interconnected and dependent the world economy truly is, and how a single currency can shape opportunities, risks, and relationships across continents. Please note, for financial decisions or policy interpretation, consulting qualified professionals is recommended to understand the implications fully.